Good morning, guys. Welcome to Real Talk. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us across the I Love CVille network. Real Talk, powered by the powerhouses Keith and Yonna Smith of the Yes Team Realtors. This show airs Fridays at 10:15, thanks in part to Roy Wheeler Realty Company. Super excited to talk about millennial home buyers and an aspect of the market that perhaps maybe needs a little bit more momentum behind it. We'll talk about that with Keith and Yonna. Why don't we welcome first our partner in crime, Senor Keith Smith, to the show. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. You said partner in crime, so one of my things is how if somebody asked me how I'm doing. I said if I was doing any better, it'd be illegal. And I said that to somebody the other day, and they said, "Did you do something illegal?" Well, maybe.
That might be a conversation for off the air.
That would be an off-air conversation. But
He and I get very mischievous together on this program.
And in trouble.
Yes, which I enjoy.
There you go.
You have welcomed your fabulous better 7/8.
7/8.
To
Yeah.
the
She
program.
doesn't. Yonna does not like when I do that. So our hope today was to have our oldest daughter with us, Yasmina Smith, or Smith Tyson, actually. And she is a makeup artist in New York City and didn't finish a shoot until 6 or 7 and drove down with her husband and our grandson, which I still haven't had an opportunity to hold yet. I just saw them come in at 3:30 and I had to leave to come into town today. But they're a little beast, so I believe she's joining us online, so she'll jump in. But what I want to do today, what I'd love to do today is talk about the much talked about millennial buyer and probably get in the weeds a little bit on some statistics, and then have Yasmina, because we helped her buy a house, talk about her experience as a millennial buyer. And so that's our goal today. So we've got all kinds of stats and data, and we're going to have all kinds of fun.
Super pumped for this. This fits my wheelhouse perfectly as a millennial. Yonna, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Phenomenal.
Thank you for joining us. Your grandson waiting for you.
Absolutely. And I had the opportunity to hug and snug on him this
Sure.
morning.
Oh, you did?
Feed him and all this good stuff.
They always love the grandmothers more.
So
I'm just saying.
just to rub it in a little bit. No, but no, they're here, and I'm very happy that we have them join. And she's very anxious. She like Keith said, she wanted to join us, but unfortunately, it just didn't happen. But she will be online.
I love it. I love
Post
it.
questions and throw out some.
So our
topics.
second daughter's on a plane about now, right? From Seattle?
In a
We're
little
getting
bit,
close
in
to
a
that?
little while.
Sounds
She's
good.
coming in from
Yeah, it's my father's 80th birthday, and we have a bunch of people coming in from all over the country.
He lives in the area?
Yes.
About 5 miles away
5
from
miles
us.
from
I did not know that.
Yep.
Sure.
80 years. The Smiths have some good genes, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. So, matter of fact, all with the exception of Yasmin and my sister Kelly, of my 5 brothers and sisters, 4 of them live here.
Okay. This is the firefighter?
Yeah, my
Yes.
pops are retired New York City fireman.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Rescue-
Salute to
rescue
his service.
Yeah.
Yes, thank
Keith Smith, let's do, as you say, a deep dive, my friend.
Deep dive.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Where do we want to begin? Let's
God,
start.
I was hoping we were going to talk about, because you mentioned something about how my wife's perfume smelled, so
I
we
did
thought
say
we were
that.
going to go
I did say
there.
that off air. My wife is watching. Sweetheart, she smells. It's Vera Wang. Vera Wang. Yes, she smells amazing. Okay, on this set right now, I'm having a hard time focusing. My friend, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, we got to talk perfume, because when we go to St. Martin, there's a dear friend of ours that owns a perfumery down there that Tijan, and you should look it up.
Okay.
You can actually make your own perfume to your body chemistry. It's a really super cool
Have you
model.
done
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Really
what you
fun.
do is you go down there, is you take like a 4-hour class, and it's a real, deep dive into chemistry
Yeah.
for 4 hours, and you walk away with a perfume that's specific to your body chemistry. And if you run out, you send them an email, and they put it in the mail, or you go down and visit them.
If memory serves correctly, you are taking the family there
Yep.
soon, are you not?
Yes.
We are.
Like the
Yes.
entire family, right?
We are.
Okay.
I'm a
Which
little.
is a little top secret, but that's okay.
Ain't any longer.
Not anymore.
So you're saying you're a little worried. You better have some rum. Is what you were alluding to? Is that what you were going to say?
Something like that. Well, it's a big thing. This is our Yonna and I work obscene amount of hours.
You guys
and
grind.
We do, and we're thankful that we can.
Loving it, yes.
And we love it, and we love helping people. But that's our little, we go away for a couple, 3 weeks, and that's
Happy
our little
spot.
private spot, and I'm a little bit, we'll see how it goes.
Let's welcome Ida Thornton, the owner of IMBS, to the program. Gerard
cool.
Smith ran for Board of Supervisors in the Rivanna District. Kelly Robbins, Tyler Barry, Andrew Sneatherin of Nelson County ran for the 5th District, watching the show.
Wow.
Nice.
Keith
Welcome.
Smith, anywhere you want to go?
So what we're going to like to talk a little bit about is NAR, National Association of Realtors, put out this 2019 Home Buyers and Sellers Generational Trends, and I have it over here. It's literally 170 pages. But what we wanted to focus on is a little bit on who the millennial buyer is, where the buyer trends are going, so the folks that are watching the show, can help them make some decisions. So it's an interesting thing that they've just recently broke the boomers out, which is Yonna and I, and the millennials out into two groups. So they have a younger millennial and an older millennial, and the younger millennial is from born in wrong one. I'm on boomers. See, I just went right to my own age. The younger millennials from 1990 to 1998.
Okay.
And then the older millennials is from born in 80 to 89. So our daughter is born in 86, so she fit right in.
Me too.
Both daughters.
Really?
Yeah.
Actually,
I did
both
not know
daughters.
that.
Yeah.
When?
Okay.
When?
Wow.
82.
Yeah, so you're
Older millennial.
You're an older millennial.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the club.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed this club very much.
I was in the Marine Corps for a couple of years by that time.
Okay. One of your fellow Marines, Bellamy Brown,
There
watching
you go.
right now.
Thanks,
Semper Fi
thanks,
Marine.
Bill. Semper
So
Fi.
it's interesting. So they broke that up. They also broke the boomers up, right, to older boomers and younger boomers. But we kind of want to follow a little bit on the millennial side. So what they did is they took about a year. They reached out to about 160,000 folks that have recently bought, and they asked a ton of questions and put a ton of data together. So the interesting thing is, and I sent a little Facebook message. I don't know if you've seen it this morning.
I did see it.
I do a Friday morning,
Blitz.
win a prize or get some. But the out of 100%, there the last year there was 38% of the buyers were millennials. That's a huge number.
What's the trend?
And it's and Yonna and I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we're doing this show, from my perspective, is to reach out to the
absolutely.
millennial buyer. But they are actually outperformed the boomers by the older boomers were only 14%, and the younger boomers were 18%. So I mean that's just like huge amount of buying power. So everybody's kind of scared of the millennials. We're not scared of you, Joe.
Yeah.
But
You're not scared of anything.
Well,
she's sitting here. I
What
can't.
is he scared of? Having a bad hair day? He never has a bad hair day. This portion of the program brought to you by Hairsmith and Company.
Say that. Yeah, of course I have bad days, but I wake up with that beautiful thing every day.
I also have bad hair days too, so
Oh,
no worries.
it's funny. We're going to get off topic here.
I like it when we do.
But every time my wife comes back from the, we don't call them hair salons anymore. What's the right terminology?
Yeah, what is it?
Stylist.
Oh, stylist.
Stylist,
It's
excuse
not a beauty parlor anymore?
No, God, no.
Okay, sorry.
No.
I did not know that.
No,
What-
you can offend them.
We're learning. We're
Really?
learning.
Our teaching moments. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
We're learning.
I did not know that.
But if you notice, her hair seems to be getting shorter and shorter than mine.
I like it.
Thank you.
Easy to maintain, right?
It's no problem at all.
There you
I was trying to
go.
remember
Just
when the
need
last
to
time
change
you had
colors.
hair down to your shoulders.
It's been a while.
Wow. Sorry, we get off.
No
we
problem.
Got off topic.
Let me throw this to you. Why the fear with the millennial home buyers?
So that's a great question.
very good question.
And it's hard for me to answer because we love them.
Okay.
From my perspective, because we have children your age, right? It's just like helping our children, being good parents and good stewards and good guides. But I don't know why that is, and maybe some of the other real estate agents might want to chime in. And
We have one in Christopher Eagle watching. What do you
Yeah.
think, Christopher Eagle? Why the fear in millennial home buyers? Your daughter says, hey, we're here.
Hey.
We're
Hey,
watching.
We're watching.
Okay.
We're watching.
Hi, Harry.
Hello, Harry.
Hey, that was a huge. I got to give a shout out to him. He worked all day
Yeah.
in Connecticut, picked up our grandson, drove into Manhattan, which, as you know, is not a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Can be brutal.
On a Friday.
Thursday.
What's today's?
Thursday.
Today's on a Thursday,
Yeah.
right? Into the city, which is not so bad. Then picked up our oldest daughter in Manhattan at the job, at her shoot, and had to drive out, which was the scary thing. I was tracking them on, we follow each other on our iPhones.
The pins, the
pin-
locations.
yeah. And it took them almost an hour and a half to get out of the city. So they didn't get in until 3:30.
Yeah, Yasmina in all caps says, check your phone, Dad. Literally just put that in the stream right now.
She is
So that is why people are fearful of millennials.
I see that in all caps. I sense a little tone right there. I sense a little tone. Throw it to you as we reel him in.
Oh, no, that's why. That's why.
Oh, that's adorable. You got the family watching the show right now in your
Yeah.
kitchen. He's cutie.
He's a.
Right?
I'm going to send
he's a
this
ball.
to Judah. Maybe he can.
Yeah, Judah, send that contact at VMV Brands, and he'll get it up there.
So can I kind of
Reel us in?
soften the fear? There is no fear. I think for
Yeah,
all of
I
us,
agree.
I look at it from a point of view, what can we learn? And I think it's a different way to communicate. Millennials are extremely informed.
Yep,
In certain cases, they're over-informed.
right?
And I think they have a fear of really making the right decision. And I think that's
Paralysis of analysis? Yeah.
really, truly, I believe that. So I think our job, and we're learning as much as I'm learning with every client, but our job is really to try to go ahead and understand what their needs are, trying to help them be patient, and also get them to the finish line. So that's how I would probably look at that.
So she has 34 years of experience.
But-
with
She's
that.
good.
well,
Getting me to be
He's not a
patient.
millennial, so.
But I have a lot-
The spirit of a
I
millennial.
have a lot of the traits to go ahead and do that.
But we
So-
love them. It's good teaching.
Yeah,
good
so
teaching stuff.
over half of our sales are to
Yep.
millennials. We love them, but what I've learned in working with this, and maybe Yasmina can chime in, and we'll get into some stats, but nearly 100% of them find their home on the phone, right, on the mobile device. And then we've had this discussion before. And then what happens at some point, they become overwhelmed.
Yep.
And they put it down. And then they reach out to a Yonna or they reach out to me and they say, help me, guide me through this. They're looking for this trusted advisor to get through it. But again, back to this report. So one of the questions was the primary reason for purchasing a home, right? So they broke these things into all buyers, 28 and younger, 29 to 30, 38, 39 to 53, and so forth and so on. Desire to own your own home. So everybody talks about millennials don't want to buy, millennials want to rent. The younger millennial, the 28 and younger, over 60% want to own.
Yep.
That's a huge number. Now, our age, let's just say we fall somewhere between the 54 and 63 age. It's only 17%.
Yeah.
So the boomers want to own less than the younger millennials. It jumps down a little bit to the older millennials, the 29 to 38 to 42. So it's roughly a 20% drop in it, but it's still light years above the much maligned, the much, oh my God, everything is boomers. That's a huge number. When you get to the 64 to 72, it drops to 7%.
So the home ownership, the desire of home ownership, the American dream,
It's still
Still
alive.
alive.
And people, and that's why I think fear or misrepresentation,
I
the
don't think
data is important, pointing that out, right? They want to own, and we'll get into some other numbers a little further on. And I was surprised when I read through it. A majority of them, and I'll read the quote, the specific percentage later, prefer to live out in the suburbs,
Right.
Yep.
which is very different than everything you hear.
Yep.
So the data is totally pointing in a different
What do you
direction.
attribute that to, living in the suburbs? A larger house, more land, backyard for the kids?
So we're going to get into that. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. So everybody's thinking the millennial wants smaller, but no, they're actually buying larger, right? It's great. It's somewhere buried in this 173 pages, but in my personal opinion, a lot of it is affordability, right? So if the millennial buyer could afford what they could out in in the suburbs, downtown Charlottesville, then they would buy it. Mm-hmm. Right, so I think it's affordability on that stuff. Plus, you know, we talk to millennial buyers all the time. They want the yard. You know, they really want what's everybody always wanted, right? The white picket fence, the yard, the 2-car garage, good schools. You know, where can I take the kids? And one of the real neat things that we like working with millennials, they put a tremendous amount of value on personal time.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And if
17
wherever they
touches.
go, there has to have, you know, this biking, hiking, all this fun stuff.
What do you think, Yonna?
I would definitely agree with that. I mean, the outdoorsy component is, I would say, as much important as, let's say, entertainment, restaurants. Also, going to and from work is very, very important for them. But like Keith said, I mean, we're finding that the desire to have a little bit more elbow room and a little bit more room to spread out, even, you know, if it's a family, you know, somebody starting a family, I mean, they're looking ahead, and we're trying to go ahead and encourage them to really look not just immediately for the next 12 months, but look 5 years down the road where you want to be. So if you are planning to have a family, you don't want to go ahead and be in a position again that you have to move within a year or two. So, but we're finding it very, for us, like I said, it's a teaching moment to really, really understand what their needs are and try to go ahead and match that.
And it's interesting, they save money at a faster rate.
Oh my God, yeah. Definitely.
This is interesting perspective.
Very
This is
much
from
so.
Christopher Eagle of Real Estate 3.
Yeah.
He's an agent. He goes, I'm a millennial and a realtor. I find a lot of my friends have sold to or work with other millennials I meet, have no understanding of buying a house. That's why they're contacting real estate agents.
Yep.
We all watched 2008 happen as teenagers or college students.
Yep.
And as a result, we learn from our parents the good and the bad. The lack of information is overwhelming. That's why we reach out to agents.
Yeah, I would
good
definitely
perspective.
second that.
And we need
Absolutely.
to invite him on the show because that is perfectly said.
Yeah?
And that's literally what it comes down to on that. And we've experienced that, right? We talk about this all the time. We lost a substantial amount of money with the downturn. Our children witnessed that.
Yep.
And been a part of that, and life-changing things had to happen. But and I would have to pull another slide for this, but the amount of savings of the millennial versus the boomer is like 2 or 3 times the amount. And it's amazing when we work with them, you know, we say, hey, you know, you got to have 10% cash or 5% or 20%. And no problem. It's like, whoa. You know, and I was just finished reading a great book called The Latte Factor.
Love the Latte Factor.
It's an awesome book, and the premise of it, of course, is if you save a latte a day, which apparently I don't. I know.
This man's double fisting lattes from MarieBette. This portion of the program thanks to MarieBette.
So it's funny. Yonna's going to find out about this. So I went to breakfast there before I came over, and so they have a new point system over there.
You're in the Hall of Fame.
Literally, the young lady.
We have coffee for the next year.
Wow, I've never seen anybody with that much.
And Yonna's like, damn it, Keith.
So I said, you know, it's going. This is what I'm going to give to my kids when in my will. We're going to will the points over to them. But actually, what we're going to do is. Because Jason, the owner of MarieBette, and Patrick, his husband, the owner of MarieBette, are such supporters of Meals on Wheels, I'm saving up those points, and then whatever that dollar value is, we're going to donate to
that's great.
Meals on Wheels. Yeah,
I absolutely love this. So Yasmina's offering some perspective.
Okay.
Yasmina says on the feed, we like space for our kids. That's why we left the city. We wanted a space for our future kids to have a backyard, just like my wife and I with our son. Go figure, me and my dad are saying the same thing. We are both so smart. She says right now.
Well, that's a little bit of an inside family joke.
Okay, she says we will most likely get a bigger house another 8 to 10 years. Get ready, Dad.
Okay, good.
We had a real estate agent and our parents as guides when we purchased our home, and it was invaluable. Harry has a little quip, a little joke for everybody.
Please.
I know normal people have to do a title search when purchasing a home. Do millennials have to do an entitlement search when purchasing the home. We have certainly a stigma associated with us of a sense of entitlement, whether that's fair or unfair. I don't think we all embody that. Anywhere you want to go?
As much as I hate to disagree,
Yeah.
we don't experience that at all.
I have not experienced
Absolutely.
entitlement.
With our millennial buyers,
Nope.
we have
Yeah.
not. It's once they make that decision to put this down.
Right.
It is really amazing how they do that. We struggle with boomers, right? Because they've done this a couple of times and they think they understand it. And the reality of it is, if you bought a house 15 years ago, the process is
Totally changed.
immensely different.
Totally changed.
How so?
Oh, it's just more complicated. The process to close was very simple. Now you have multiple regulatory oversights, which is all very good stuff. It is purposely designed so we don't go back to where what happened. To go back, I'm trying to dig up some data for Harry because there's a specific data point on that shows that. Excuse me, I apologize to Yasmina's quote. The millennials are projected to stay in their house longer
Interesting.
than
Yes.
any group, and I got to find the exact
Yeah,
number, but it's like
I've seen
double
it.
the normal, like 5 to 7 years. They're like 15 years or something
What
like
do you
that.
attribute that to?
I think the downturn. I think
Conservativeness?
Yeah.
I think the fear of
Yeah.
of happening it again, right? So they haven't had the time, right? So if they buy a house now or last year or a couple years, right? In reality, us as professionals know that probably in 9 years they're gonna 7 to 9 years.
7 to 9 years is typically the
But
turnaround time.
they're saying in this study they want to stay because at the end of the day they're fearful for a repeat of 08, 09, and 010.
What do you think?
Loss of value. I would agree with obviously the data that is in there, that we are finding that folks, once they make a decision, that's coming back to what I was saying before. That's one of the reasons why we do talk to them about look beyond a year, look beyond 2 years, look beyond 5 years. Is this place going to be big enough for you, or is it where you want to be? I mean, obviously with job relocations and stuff like that, always something can happen that you have to kind of move out of the area. But for the most part, they're here to stay. They're here to stay. So I'm finding the same message from them,
So I
saying that they
found the
want to
data.
stay.
So it's 55% 8 to 10 years
Yeah.
on millennials. The boomer, 8 to 10 years is less than 20%.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the boomer is is downsizing.
It is. We are downsizing. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're in the downsizing phase.
And microcosm of this is the discussions happening in your household right now.
Oh yeah.
Is that fair to say?
You start trouble.
I'm the therapist here. I'm the therapist here.
I'm not gonna go
Funny,
ahead
I
and,
got a story
and
about
embarrass
that.
him. No.
You can if you want to.
No. I'm good. I'm good.
We go for tune-ups from time to time.
yeah,
my wife and I.
it's all good.
The last one we did, the therapist leaned over and goes, "You guys would make a great sitcom."
Should come.
I think that's very true.
And then I went, "So did we just get fired?"
And then they passed you the bill, and you're like, okay.
Okay, I need to-
Let me throw this to you here.
Sure.
So, as a millennial, we are on house number 2.
Good for you.
Okay. First one, still in the mix as a rental. I think my friends, from what I'm seeing, and a lot of them are, friends from high school or the University of Virginia. We understand the value of a home becoming a savings account for us long term. But some of our friends are very fearful of the cost associated with maintaining the property and also the opportunity cost that comes with 5, 10, and 20% down payment, and what that money can be done, spent otherwise. And lastly, we truly value our most precious commodity, which is our time, and the experiences that come with travel and seeing new places. All that topic to you.
Yeah, that's a little bit to
That's a
unpack.
loaded one.
That's a loaded
But
one,
I
yep.
want to laser into the maintenance expense versus
Yep.
rent. So I explain it this way. So if you're renting, first of all, forget about the whole building wealth and equity and all
Okay.
that stuff. Just look at it straight up. Hey, I'm going to rent because I want somebody else to maintain the building, cut the grass, and all that stuff. Well, you're paying for that in your rent, right?
Totally.
And guess what your rent's going to do? Rent will always go up.
It's always increasing.
There's always increase. So you are paying for somebody else to do that. Oh, by the way, you're paying somebody else to put their kids through college.
That's right.
And all this kind of great stuff. So if you end up, and particularly in today's rates, it's, if you're lucky enough to find something that's the right location, right price, right features, right conditions,
Do it.
At 4% or
less.
It's less
sub
than 4%.
4%.
Yeah.
Less than 4%.
And who you want to call? Mike Bittrick,
Bittrick.
First Heritage Mortgage.
Well done.
Yeah? We have good chemistry.
We do. So, I get the fear, I get the anxiety to it, and I also get the time. Well, okay, we hire somebody to cut our grass. That cuts grass, But, or if you have what we do we do this for all first-time home buyers, and we did it for our daughter, who they used. We buy an American Home Shield warranty for their house. So if their water heater goes or their refrigerator goes, I think, if I remember, Yasmina, something went on the heating system,
Yeah,
and
she
they
had a
changed
problem
out a
with the heating
capacitor. So you call up a guy. You do it online. You pay $75. Guy comes and fixes it and goes away.
What do you think?
So there's no excuse. It's just I say this all the time. What we do very well is we just educate. That's all we really do.
Sure.
We try to educate you on okay, well, have you thought about this?
I thought your question was also related to you being a second-time sort of purchaser,
Sure.
in a sense, and what to do with the first home that you have and becoming a landlord, basically. There is cost involved in it, as you know, and I think one of the first things you want to do is really try to go ahead and set yourself up a budget that works for the maintenance part of it, as much as, because you never know what can happen.
We don't even touch the rent.
I just wanted to say,
We leave it in
you
a
leave it
slush. Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't even touch it. We
That's-
pretend like it's not even there.
that's correct, because you just never know.
Never know.
You never know what
Yeah.
can happen. But there again, also, coming back to Keith's point, there's no reason why you could not have a home buyer warranty as well on your home.
On your rental property.
On your rental
Absolutely.
property.
We do that.
That
we
can
do that
help.
for ourselves.
That can
We
help.
do that. It's
Yeah.
a no-brainer. It's like $400.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it covers, right, it's a no-brainer. But not everybody does that.
No.
No.
And you know what it is? I think it is, and I'm going to throw it to you anyway. I think it's just a lack of knowledge.
It definitely
Well, that's why I
agree
keep on
with
going
that.
back to this education
Yes.
thing. And that's why I really love, I can't overstate how much I love to work with. We work with anybody, but we love helping millennials because they hit these roadblocks. And then you say, well, hold it, time out. We can solve this way. Oh, really cool. Can we do that? And I'll tell you, they really will never put, and the brand loyalty for a millennial, we can help them solve a problem, they are literally
Loyal for life.
loyal for life.
Yeah.
So
'Cause they
just to go
want-
back
they
to
want
the-
the attention. They want you to be their
Absolutely.
advocate. They
Absolutely.
They want the personal
Yeah, sure.
attention and
And as we should. That's what
professionally.
we should do.
yeah.
So 25, I looked it up, 25% of, in your circumstances, 25 who buy a second house, keep the first house and rent it out.
I'll throw this. to
Millennials.
you. And this is
It's
what,
the highest group, by the way.
This is what we were thinking. Is
Mm-hmm.
I did not underestimate the opportunity cost involved with purchasing the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And the time, the effort,
Sure.
everything we had to go through.
Yeah.
And it was tough.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's keep
That's
it
why
in
you.
the mix.
That's why you pay us.
That's why. That's why I bring you in the mix and refer you
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
doing that.
to
Bob.
other
Thank
people.
you.
Harry Tyson, I
Oh.
think, and guys, we're live on 12 Facebook pages. This portion of the program, thanks to Towe Insurance Services.
Yeah. So we say this all the time. We switched over personally over to Z and saved us what, $300 or something like that.
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit of money.
And
so I can go buy more
Good
coffee.
education. We learned a lot.
Oh yeah,
Tremendously.
totally. It's and this is playing into the millennial because he's a millennial. I believe
No, he's not.
no,
I don't
he's
think
a-
so. Well, I don't want to.
He's a millennial
I don't
at
wanna
heart.
assume
Totally
anything.
a millennial at heart. But you can buy Geico or whatever the heck it is on this. But we reached out to him and said, look, we think we're overpaying and we think we're overinsured or underinsured. And he sat down and held our hands and walked us through that. And again, that's what millennials want. They want their guide. I'll do a reference, a movie reference here, which Yasmina will get, and she'll probably chime in on it. So when you watch a story like The Lord of the Rings, who is the most pivotal figure in the story? Is it the hero, right? Is it the villain, or is it the guide?
It's the guide.
And in that series, who is the guide?
Judah, you're going to jump in here on this one?
There you go. Well played.
That's our director.
Right? And so,
Good job, Judah.
so that's the one who guides everybody through it and tells the story. And that's what we do. We're the guides. We guide people through, frankly, a complicated process that is getting more complicated by the year. But I just want to go back. Locations, 55%, the highest number of millennials want to live in suburban or a subdivision, in a subdivision.
Yeah.
The boomers are out 45, so it's a little bit higher.
Neil Williamson watching the program, Free Enterprise Forum.
Thank you,
Millennial
Neil.
buyers at 85%, this is his commentary, were the most likely generation to view their home purchase as a good financial investment.
Sure.
It
And he
is.
says that's from Lawrence Yunn, Chief Economist and Senior Vice President of Research at the National Association of Realtors. Welcome Dan Pettit of Real Estate 3 to the
Hi, Dan.
program. Hello, Keller Williams. Thank you for
Hello.
joining us on the program. Give it a like and a share on any of the streams you're watching. We should acknowledge Pearl certification at this point of the show.
Well, so that's a great segue into a slide I have here. If people be patient with me for the moment.
And if you throw the page numbers out, he can put them on screen.
Slide 7.
Slide 7, Judah.
So environmental friendly features considered very important. So, and it's a chart, and it talks about the green features and all that stuff. And of course, millennials, I love, and it's off the charts higher than everybody else. We're in the heating and cooling costs are 34-29%. So that's where Pearl comes in. Pearl helps you certify your home and the efficiencies of it, and it's so again, if you're out there, even if you're not selling, if you just own, give Pearl a call or go online and come in and do that. But their number one thing, by the way, is commuting costs in that millennials are the most concerned about.
As far as getting in the car, driving to and from work.
That's exactly
That's
right.
Because
correct.
of the timepiece?
Yeah.
Well, because now they're moving out in the suburbs, so
Right.
what the cost factor is on that. But it's a very specific feature that millennials want: green, efficiency,
High efficiency, environmentally friendly.
environmentally
Very
friendly,
much so.
which we all want, of course. They're just exercising. They're insisting it. We just helped a millennial buy a house in Charlottesville over on Druid, and we were able to negotiate and put a deal together post-closing. They're having Segura come in. They're putting solar on it,
Nice.
redoing a bunch of stuff, and they're not going to be quite net zero, but
Close to it.
it's going to be pretty
Better.
close.
Yeah.
I'll throw this to you. So
Yeah.
with our phones, I mean, it's almost like an addiction here, constantly in our hands. We're constantly, as millennials, checking websites like Trulia, like Zillow, and trying to understand the market. This goes to the education piece that you were talking here. How about the conversation you need to have with millennial buyers when it comes to, well, my Zestimate is this, but the market here in Charlottesville is a little bit different here.
Yeah.
Walk us through that.
And basically, that's one of the first points that I do discuss with sellers.
Okay.
And making sure that they do understand that obviously what they're looking online is coming from a source that is from public records. So Zillow does not know what's going on in the current market or what the current market activity has to hold. So I typically try to go ahead and encourage them to check, in addition, Realtor.com or our car MLS, and that's what we're here for, to go ahead and provide the most accurate and most up-to-date information. And in addition to that, obviously we want to walk them through on how they can best present their home to the market, not only in the most competitive way, but also in a way that somebody will take a look at it and come in the home, appreciate what they see in the home, not what the seller has in the home. So, because that's one of the biggest I would say, stumbling blocks that somebody really does not may or may not be really aware of, they don't necessarily want to see what you have in the home, but they want to see what they can put into that home. So staging is important. So there's a lot of different components that we walk through. We spend about as much time with a consulting a seller as we do with a buyer, and we try to go ahead and give them as good of a market update as possible, realistic updates, comparable sales, and kind of involve them in a discussion after we do the comparable marketing analysis to kind of ask them the question, so in your opinion, what do you think your home is worth? And that kind of opens up the opportunity to, kind of cross-reference also what their thought is, because sometimes sellers especially think that whatever they have done in improvements is worth more than actually what it is. So these are sort of the things that we have to help them through.
So from a smart lady, huh?
Yeah.
From a buyer's perspective, and I'll be the New Yorker, I'll be a little bit more direct about it.
Please.
When they lose their first contract because they decided that instead of using our advice, they use us estimates value of it, and they lose it, then they say, okay.
Wake up call.
Then they put this down and they say, please guide us through this process, and but so the method of home purchase. Judah's out taking still photos, so I will not shoot a number at him, but it'd be slide 14.
Slide 14.
So pretty interesting. Method of purchase of home using a real estate agent. 92%
It's a no-brainer.
of the 28 and younger user. And the reason that is they realize very quickly, and I found in talking to millennials with Zestimates and Zillow and apps and all that stuff, they're so inundated with this information, they realize it doesn't have a lot of value, right? And so then what they'll do is they'll go out and reach out to us and then say, hey, help us explain this. What is the market? But that's a huge number, 92%.
Well, I mean, it's the, throw it to you, Yonna, the second most important decision you make in life behind who you marry.
Of course.
Why would you not
Absolutely. It's the
take
biggest
someone's
financial decision.
guidance for 30 plus years in the game like you?
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that's one of the first things that we tell them, that both buyer or seller for that matter, we are dealing with their, I would say, most important financial piece in their lives. And especially with the millennial, the fear factor of spending money. We are trying to kind of eliminate that by saying to them, we really, really understand where they're coming from, and we respect it, and we will do anything in our power to go ahead and make that purchase a good investment for them.
Again, once you sit down with them and slow down and have a coffee and explain everything and invest our time in you.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? That's what you want. You want us to invest our time in you to help you solve you and your family's whatever issue it is. But it's to go back to this, and it'll be 15, Judah, what buyers want from a real estate agent, and it's to help them to find the right home. 51%, 28 and younger, 48%, 29 and older. So even though I think they realize they can't really buy this on that, so it's a great starter. There's another slide back here that 81% of millennials use this for their mobile, and specifically a mobile device for their search. But then it drops off so quickly to this point to say, hey, Jerry, help me through this process, right?
Yeah.
I'm new to this. I've never done this before, right? I came to you 6 months ago and I said, this is my vision. This is my goal. Help me through this. And you're helping me. I'm a little slow, but I'm working on it.
You're doing fine.
You're
doing
great.
fine.
Yeah, you're doing phenomenal. I'm going to throw some commentary out.
Sure.
This one is from a millennial in Crozet.
Cool.
Can you guys discuss, as a millennial, townhomes versus condos versus standalone homes as solutions for us?
Wow, great question. So I actually have a stat for that. A lot of it is where you're at in your life, right?
Yes.
So
And where you wanna go.
Where do you want to go? So
Whether you want to maintain.
Yes.
and frankly, what you can afford,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
So real estate's four things, right? location, price, features, and conditions. So once you figure out your location, let's assume it's Crozet, then we have to figure out what you can afford, and then we have to figure that out. So most folks will start in a townhome because budget allows that to be that way, and then they'll stay in it for a couple of years and move out. But I'll get to a slide here in a minute.
You're going to appreciate this from Dan.
Yes.
He says, Keith has the true pro on the show today, and Yonna Smith.
He's
Hi,
so
Dan.
much fun. Hi, Dan. He's
We've
so
known
much
Dan
fun.
for decades.
For a we
Yes,
were talking about this at John Kerber's open house.
That's right, yeah.
Right?
Very,
Remember
very
the
long.
conversation?
Wow.
We have other commentary coming in. Yes, Yonna, what are you thinking?
Coming back to the condo versus townhome versus standalone home. So the thing that we want to go ahead and make sure is that the buyer does talk to the lender in case they are considering a condo or a townhome, because there's additional HOA fees that they need to
Correct.
consider. So, and sometimes, and it goes back to what Keith was saying, is where do you want to start and where do you want to go? We do see a lot of folks starting in a townhome. Just because of the fact that they may not be quite there yet, that they really need all this room to spread out yet, and they want to have a little bit closeness of the town and walkability and so forth. But most everybody that we have been working with who started in a townhome eventually moves out to a standalone home.
Sure.
So, because it just makes more financial sense too.
You want some privacy.
Yeah.
You want a little more, this is mine. I'll throw this topic to you.
Yep.
A lot of folks that start with condo or townhome underestimate the cost of the HOA. And when you tack that onto the mortgage, you're essentially very close to the price point of a single family
Exactly
detached.
right.
And then follow up to you, and throw this, the resale component of the condo and townhome versus the single family standalone, oftentimes a little bit more arduous or challenging to sell the condo or townhome depending on the market versus the single family.
Correct. It has sort of kind of evened itself out, but there used to be a time when there was just absolutely no financing available for condos. And it's getting a little bit better these days that lenders are more approachable on lending money on it, but it also means that you as the first-time home buyer, in some condo situations, you have to put more money down. But you're 100% right. From a resale perspective and the HOA perspective, the HOA will always go up. That's
Right.
almost like rent, right?
Yeah.
And because the maintenance will always go up.
The cost of employing the people to maintain the common area increases every year, so the HOA has to follow suit.
Absolutely. And that eventually will turn into a higher mortgage payment, ultimately. And yes, it can be a little bit of a hurdle in trying to go ahead and resell the condo. The other thing, though, is that there is such a high need for townhomes and condos here in the Charlottesville area that I think it's sort of evening itself out.
So you're saying the demand's picking up?
Demand's picking up, yeah,
But the
especially
demand
with
across the board is picking up.
especially with funds, with loan, with money available now again.
Yeah, so not to get too much in the weeds, on the condos, you kind of get hung up, and this is where you really need to talk to somebody like Mike Bittrick, the warrantable and non-warrantable,
Yeah.
and it's a rather complicated process, but the basics of it is that if you're in a condominium building and more of it is owned by investors,
Or the developer himself. A
Well,
perfect
That's
example
correct.
is the Villas at Southern Ridge, where I have a rental property.
Yeah. Yep.
Mr. Fry from Virginia Beach has over 50% of the property.
Correct.
And as a result of that, that's making it difficult for some folks to sell the property, sell their
Correct.
condos.
it's making it impossible
Yeah.
because you can't...
For the
there's-
buyers to get a loan.
They
Right.
can't get loan.
Yeah.
Right.
On that stuff. So interesting about size, to go back to townhomes and and this is 6, Judah. The Millennials, 28 and under, 40%, 1,500 square foot to 2,000, and 26 between 2,000 and 2,500. It's a little less for the 29 to 38 range, but the conversation's always been around, hey, they want smaller, but the 1,000 to 1,500 is in the 29 to 38 is only 12%. So we're saying the millennials want to buy smaller, but in reality they're not. They're buying larger homes, right? That 2,000 to 2,500 square foot house, which is very difficult to get a townhome
Yeah.
at that price point,
Right.
right? So you're more at that. So you're more at single family detached at that square footage.
This portion of the program, thanks to Bill Tucker and Charlottesville Settlement Company, Keith.
Yeah, so we're going to bring on Bill and Katie West next Friday.
Oh,
Nice.
good.
And we're going to
Nice.
be talking about fun stuff like title insurance and all this fun stuff when the millennial buys that they need experts on to help them navigate that.
Your son-in-law, throw it to you, Yonna. I think people used to expect the value of their home to increase somewhat quickly so they could sell earlier and use that increase as a down payment to upgrade. That's not necessarily the case anymore.
He just texted me. You ignored my comment.
I just threw it out there.
We have to tell him that I don't see the feed, only Jerry
I
sees
got
the
it. I
feed.
got it out there for you, Harry. What do you think about that, Yonna?
Home values have increased, obviously, and especially since we did come out of the downturn finally. And Charlottesville was actually one of the first ones to come out of the downturn as fast as possible.
Oh, absolutely. University of Virginia.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It had to do with the employment base that was here. And I always say that Charlottesville, thankfully, is
Somewhat
that's
insulated.
insulated. So coming back to home values, Dr. Yoon from the National Association of Realtors, I think in one of his last reports has stated that the home values on a national level have increased anywhere between 3.5% to 4.5% year over year. Certain pockets, obviously, the home values go up a little faster than in other areas. Here in Charlottesville, we have this very interesting, I would say, phenomenon where home values are going up, but there's not enough inventory. So it's just one of the equations that's just not working out at the moment. But obviously, you want to go ahead and allow at least anywhere between 3 to 5 years in order to really see some sort of an appreciation in your investment or in your purchase of the home. So, especially with new construction is going to take a little bit longer to appreciate in the sense that you accumulate equity. And again, how fast one home appreciates really also depends on many other things, not only location but also how you maintain it, the demand for it. So, in a sense.
So to go back to helping millennials and what they sometimes struggle with. So there's, and I'll save Judah from doing slides. But so the question is what's the most difficult steps of buying a home? And almost 60% was understanding the process and the paperwork. It wasn't finding the home. It was, again, going back to this, guide me through this. Our daughter, we helped our daughter and our son-in-law, help them navigate this process up in Connecticut. Yonna and I belong to the leading real estate agents of the world. We can buy and sell property around the world, actually. And one of the struggles that they had, just to talk about process, and she, the lender that they used ended up using a appraiser that was, and she might chime in, I believe like an hour and a half drive outside of the town that they were buying.
Yeah.
Make a very long story short, appraisal came in like $40,000 to $50,000 under contract amount.
Yikes.
We always tell our first-time home buyers, our millennial buyers, please don't fall in love with it until I give you a set of keys. She fell in love with it. So again, because we have relationships, and this business is all about relationships, not apps, right? We reached out to people that we knew in the marketplace. We continued the discussions with the seller's agents and the seller. Hey, look, give us a little bit of time, please. And they did. And we went out and found another lender, local lender, so forth and so on. And I may be misquoting the numbers a little bit, but the second appraisal came in 40 to 50 above.
That's crazy.
Above contract.
You had an 80,000 delta?
Roughly $80,000 to $100,000 delta, and they may chime in the exact number, but
That's startling. And is it because of an out-of-market appraiser?
So it goes back to process, right?
Yeah.
60% understanding the process and steps. Unfortunately, one of the good things, I guess, of the downturn is for the most part, most appraisals go into a pool system, right? Yes. So you as a lender, it used to be you had Keith and Yonna as your appraisers. You reached out to Keith and Yonna.
Handpicked person to get the deal going through.
Well, I'm not insinuating that ever happened.
Right.
I'm not saying that at all. It just was the process, right?
Right.
Now the process is much different. You cannot speak to the appraiser, right? Only the real estate agents actually can speak to the appraiser. It goes into a pool, and it gets pulled from this pool, right? And you never really know what you're going to get. We deal with this on a regular basis. We'll do something in Lake Monticello, and somebody from Harrisonburg will come out. So where the professionals are, what we do, my wife is super great at this. She will actually put all the data for the appraiser on the kitchen table with a note, a handwritten note. Hey, thank you for doing this. So particularly if it isn't somebody that we know that is local. So we provide the data for them because we don't want to have one of these deltas happen. But thank God for some good relationships and a little bit of tenacity.
This is IKEA. This isn't real wood. But still, we went to luck.
Yeah, we're being a little bit too...
like my grandson does this morning. He said he wanted more food.
Oh, yeah, he's clapping now.
Clapping,
yeah.
yes.
Right.
Coming back to, if I may say, about appraisal, from the seller side of it. So that's one of the discussions that we have with our sellers, to go ahead and make sure that they do understand also the process. Even though they have done this many years ago, things have changed, especially when it comes to appraisal. And that's where really the pricing question comes in, to make sure that they're priced correctly. Because I always try to go and explain to them, I said, look, I would love to sell your home for X amount, but you're going to have to realize it. Not only does the buyer want to pay for that, but the appraiser has to appraise for it.
Sure.
And that sort of gives them a perspective on really trying to understand what overpricing means. If you price yourself above market, what can happen? Home stays on the market longer.
So it's the seller that says we only need one to go at this price. It's like, not so fast, my friend, because the appraisal has to also come in the right way.
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons why it's so important that you really understand the data and find good comps and explain to them how what compares to. Obviously, we're not appraisers, so we cannot make the adjustments, but at the same time, we can explain to them, look, the appraiser looks at this the same data as we do. They make the adjustments, and therefore they will be in a position where they can really come up with the right sales price.
Unless it's cash, it takes three
Yes.
entities to buy a house: buyer, seller, and the lender / appraiser on it. That's what it takes to go ahead and do it. Unless it's cash, of course, it's a little bit different.
But I have seen something where it says that from the time you actually think about buying a home until you close with a lender, I think there's 17 people touching your file.
Inspector.
Oh, I think more than that. More than that, yeah.
Just about.
That's startling.
It is, and nobody really we have to interact with these people as we go along.
Throw this to you as a millennial. How about the millennial that wants to upgrade, current scenario, and the millennial has a property that they own, and they need to sell the property before they can upgrade. They see a home on the market they like, but want to perhaps not carry 2 or 3 mortgages. The home sale contingency of needing to sell the current place before going into the next place. That topic, why don't we start with Yonna on this?
Actually, I'm going to let him do that,
Okay.
because we just finished
Can we play ping pong? Can
Yeah,
we go back?
I love
we just finished it
I
off.
was just going to hit the question back to her. So it's specific, right? Go back to the 4 things: location, so how many days it's been on the market, how motivated the seller is, and all that stuff. If we're in a market or we're in a micro location that homes are flying off the handle, we're off the market, we're probably not going to be able to get a home sale contingency, right? Because we're asking the seller to take a risk, right? But if it's in the right location and the days on market's a little bit longer, there's some negotiating room there. And that's kind of what I love to do. I love negotiating. It just kind of gets my juices going.
We've actually had one particular client who actually goes into the books of records that we've had so far, but they literally had a domino on 3 homes before they were able to move into their home. So, and that was
You're
also
saying a home sale contingency.
Home sale contingency. Yeah. But they also timed it. The timing was just perfect. This was coming out of the late spring market into the early summer market, and they had a very motivated seller that they were buying the home from. So it all worked out. But it was intricate.
Yeah, so to put a definition to a domino deal, it's multiple homes have to close before we can close on your house, right?
Yeah.
And I'll go back to, that is really when you need an expert to help you navigate that.
How common is that?
Actually, quite common.
It
It's
happened.
quite common, yeah. It's
Yeah.
quite common, yeah.
Yeah.
It may not even be a contingency on it buried into the contract. It may be just, hey, we're under contract with this house, we're closing it on Tuesday, right? And how do we domino that? How do we get that cash to flow in the right way? But as you guys were talking, I was thinking, how are we going to do the gauntlet today?
Are we going to do it with Yonna?
I think we're going to do it with Yonna.
Oh.
But
What
before we
are
do
we
that,
doing?
I
I'm
do
sorry.
want to chime in a couple of statistics real
And
quick.
I also have those metrics from Harry. You want
Do
to
you?
hear 'em?
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
The original appraisal on our home came in $30,000 lower than we needed.
Yeah.
The local appraisal came in $10,000 higher than we needed.
Okay, so
So a
there's
40K
40,000.
spread in appraisals.
Wow,
That's
significant. That's 10%.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
so I inflated it a little bit for effect.
No, but it's
It's
still,
a talk show.
I'm gonna talk show.
but
I honestly didn't remember the
That's
numbers.
a heck of a delta still.
sure.
but that still shows you
Yeah.
that you really need to have that data
So it
somehow
really
available.
didn't matter of the number. This was going to happen or not going to happen, right? If we didn't go at least a contract value, the deal wasn't closing.
Yeah.
So it needed to be a contract value.
Or you can go back to the seller and negotiate,
So,
depending on how motivated the seller
To
is.
go back to how millennials find real estate agents and how they do that and how everybody thinks that they do it on the phone. This is a question. How buyer found real estate agent. 52% of the millennials were referred by a friend
And
or a
use
neighbor.
referral.
Yeah,
Yeah.
referral.
It is.
Yeah, it's
It's
a
all
It's
referral.
a referral. So they
Trusted
don't
advisor.
find it on here.
Yeah.
They may find the house, but then they go out to somebody to do that. And then benefits provided by a real estate agent during the process. 87% help buyer understand the process. That's what the millennial buyer wants by 87%.
How about the millennial and the Rocket Mortgages of the world?
So we
Rocket Mortgage and online mortgage.
You're
company.
talking about online mortgages.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So we
But-
always encourage
Local.
our
Local guys.
We
Yeah.
always encourage local.
For many
always
reasons.
encourage
For
local.
many reasons. That also includes, by the way, appraisers.
Well, and the face-to-face.
Absolutely.
We're
And-
dealing with one right now
People.
that the buyer did not want to do that.
Yep.
And we
Why so?
used them before.
Oh, okay, understood.
So and that process went very well. This one has not
Understood.
on that. So what questions do you want to ask?
I
me?
have some questions ready to go. Are you ready to run the gauntlet?
Sure.
First, let's give some love, and we have a fabulous photo of your family that we're going to put on screen. Let's
Please
save
do.
that for the end of the show,
Please.
and we'll
I can't wait to see
go
it.
out with the big hurrah for the fireworks show, your family picture.
Thank you.
This portion of the show, thanks to Roy Wheeler Realty Company.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's a firm full of pros, and if you pick any agent that has a Roy Wheeler moniker on it, you'll do well.
The other thing I want to throw out there is also the tremendous amount of training that
Sure.
is provided for all of us to really become professionals and not become stagnant.
You
But
do some of that training.
yes,
She's
I do.
the coaching,
Yeah,
mentoring.
with Michael's Tulich, yes, and
Come on, let's
not
get
to
the questions.
not become stagnant, but at the same time really become relevant and involved in what's in the current market situation. So,
You ready to rock and roll?
okay,
I'm
boy,
interested
what
to
am-
see.
You want to go first?
So-
or should I go first?
No, I think you should ask us the questions.
You want me to?
Yeah, let's do
All right,
All right. Ladies first.
that. Of course.
Ladies
Please.
first. Yonna Smith, this might be the hardest question you have on the show today. Your favorite restaurant in Charlottesville, Virginia? And
Orzo.
you guys go out all the time. Orzo.
love Orzo.
Really?
Love it. Absolutely
I
love
love
it.
Orzo's great.
So much Mediterranean in there because I was born in Beirut, Lebanon, so I'm sort of Mediterranean infused. Love it. Love the
Ambiance is
atmosphere.
amazing.
Oh my God, totally. Good
The guys
food.
that own it are pretty.
Ken and Charles are
yeah.
friends.
Oh
Yeah.
my
They're
gosh,
fabulous.
yeah, absolutely love it. Hands down, number one choice.
Keith Smith, your favorite restaurant?
Well, I would have to say Orzo, of course, but I say this all the time. It's,
Well, you can't say Orzo.
I can't.
Okay. She said Orzo, you can't say Orzo.
So I guess it depends on what kind of gin drink I want that
Okay.
particular evening.
Well, should I ask you who makes the best gin drink in
I
Charlottesville?
haven't found one
Yeah,
yet. I'm
that's-
still sampling.
Interesting.
So I'm going through. We went to Little
That
Star.
place is amazing.
Yeah.
That is so much fun.
Yeah,
What a
we-
fun
By the
place.
Oakhart guys.
Yeah.
Yes, so
yeah,
much
and
fun.
Oakhart is you know,
It's amazing.
you can't go. I don't think I've ever had a bad meal in any restaurant.
We're
in
so
Charlotte. Oh my God, yeah. So you know, again, I say it all the time. It depends on what we're in the mood for, right? What are you in the mood for, and we'll go and do that.
Favorite aspect of Keith Smith?
Ooh,
Boy,
this is being recorded now.
that's a good one.
And you know, if I ask the favorite, what I'm gonna ask after that.
Actually, the courage and the gutsiness,
I respect that too.
pushing me also out of my comfort zones quite a bit. So that's what I would say, and the love for the family, really do.
So the courage thing, I'm just not smart enough to know. I'm
No,
in
you're
trouble.
very gutsy. You're a very
Tim
gutsy
Cotton
guy.
just said Orzo is the best. Good call.
It
Yonna.
is
Consistent
yes,
every time.
Every time.
Oh yeah, consistency is
Consistent
unbelievable.
all the time.
Favorite aspect of Yonna Smith?
You know, just being with me every day, right?
It's a fun journey.
I'm so blessed, and I'm not being schmaltzy. I get to wake up with that every morning.
Ditto.
You know, it's awesome. So when Yasmina and Harry were married, I did my speech thing, and I tried to be funny. I'm not so sure I was, but
I'm sure you were.
well, it was a little intimidating because the person who married them is also a professional comedian.
Yeah.
And so now
It
I
is
was trying to
funny.
be funny with a professional comedian watching me, so it was a little bit of pressure on it. But I'll put it this way: the secret of marriage is very simple.
Oh.
It's not that difficult. Marry somebody who makes you a better person every day. And my wife, Yonna, my partner in life, makes me a better person every day. Because God knows I need to be a better person. And she'll call it out on me, and I'll go, you know, she's right. And I'll stamp my feet, and I'll be a better person. But marry, and I know that you've done that. Marry whoever is going to make you a better person every day. And then before you know it, it's 34 years.
Well said. That's got to be a sizzle reel right there, Judah. Write that one down. Most challenging aspect of Senor Keith Smith. And I'm going to ask that of Yonna too. And I have a feeling I know what your answer is going to be. And I'm going to try to pull out an answer from both you guys because I think you guys are not going to give me an answer.
That's the reason why our therapist said you'd be a good.
I don't want to call it challenging. I want to go back to what else I can learn about relationships.
We're going to
And
go out for lunch
I
after
think,
this. So
I think sometimes the listening aspect
Oh, yeah.
may be a little bit of a teaching moment for me because I need to find a way to properly communicate so he listens or he absorbs what I
Oh, no, that's-
absorb
My
what
wife
I
would
say.
the same thing about it.
no,
We're very similar.
I struggle with listening. And
Yeah,
it's
it's just-
I'm poor at it. I try daily to get better. And not that I'm making excuses, but a lot of it was I couldn't hear people.
Yeah.
Now with my hearing aids, because 75% of my hearing is lost from when I was in the service. So I couldn't hear you. But truth be known, I interrupt people, and I'm trying to get much better at
I
that.
thought you were going to say his volunteering nature.
Oh,
What does he call it? Volaholic?
Volaholic.
Volaholic.
I'm not gonna. No, I'm trying not to.
the answer is she has none.
Yeah. And she's like, use it.
The brownie points. The brownie
You know,
points.
and maybe Yasmina and Yvonne and Harry
Yeah.
can talk. We don't have arguments. We really don't.
Really.
I mean, we don't. You know, we may
Disagreements.
have a disagreement. We may be so. We'll have a discussion, and we very vehemently defend our positions. That's not an argument. We debate a subject, and then we decide to
Either table it or.
we table
It's
it, or we'll
solved.
just agree to disagree, and we'll
Yeah.
play cards.
Yeah.
I've seen you at MarieBette playing cards.
I
Yeah,
love
sure.
cards.
We're
Yes,
sure
and
we
I
do.
got him into canasta finally.
Yeah, and I've been beating you too.
It beats my
Not that we're
pants.
competitive. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Big time.
Can I ask the same to you? Most challenging aspect of Yonna?
Oh. Ooh.
Brownie points. What?
You realize it? Oh, okay. You know, I would almost reciprocate back. Sometimes that's the reason why, frankly, we go to counseling from time to time because we're together 7 days a week.
Right. You
Right.
guys work together.
We worked for 34 years. We're together every day. We communicate every day. So sometimes we fail to listen to one another, right? So not that I don't think that's a fault. It's just a function of how much we work together. So that's what I would say. I would say that if Jerry Miller, therapist, was sitting there, that we sometimes forget how to communicate to one another. And that's why we go, frankly. I call it for a tune-up. We go for a tune-up every once in a while. Say, okay, hold it. We're not communicating with each other correctly. This is not good. It's not healthy. Let's go talk to somebody. So apparently, this is our new therapy.
Yeah, and thousands of people are watching.
I thought you would say that I don't like pasta. That was.
Yeah, well,
But
that's not a thing. Yes.
What's a taste?
No,
It's taste.
No, it
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
drive me nuts, though.
This is a question that hits close to home for me, and this is why I'm asking it. Okay. I'm extremely entrepreneurial. My wife, we have very similarities with our marriage and your marriage. My wife, a very conservative, finance background. Okay. I am aggressive, courageous, like to grow
Gutsy.
the portfolio. in Kansas.
Gutsy, yeah.
I'm like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get after this one. We're going to buy this one. We're going to do this every 2-3 years here. Throw that one to you, and then I'm going to throw that back to you so I can learn with my family.
You know the pot you're stirring.
I deal with this every day,
sure.
once a week.
Yeah. Well.
She's like, no, dude, we have an 18-month-old. Slow it down. Pump the brakes.
That's basically.
You know what? If the
basically
two of
what
you
we-
were exactly the same, just think how boring that
Yeah,
was.
Right.
can you imagine?
Yeah. She makes us better. Okay, and I need
She makes you-
her
absolutely.
slow down. You know, because I'm 1,000 miles an hour, dude.
Yeah. I'm just a
60,000.
whole bunch older than you going the same speed.
Right.
Yeah. So it's the same thing with that. Yonna, you know, we got to pay a bill. And me, it's like, you know, hey. So we're vision guys, right?
Right.
We're all about visions
Yeah.
and getting visions and at full speed ahead. Damn the torpedoes.
Right.
You know, the Marines that are watching will understand that. And Yonna has to say, cool your jets, kid, son. You know, we need to slow it down a little bit, and then I'll go, okay. And I'll slow it down.
Volunteerism is one of them.
Yeah.
He's good at it.
He just has a lot on his shoulders.
Right.
Definitely.
So
but
final-
thank you for asking.
Let me throw this here. Dan Pettit wants to know who won the travel mug.
Oh, it wasn't Dan. Let's put it that
Dan, you did not win it, dude. Wasn't it Logan?
way. Actually, I've given away two because there was
who
two
was it?
answers. There was one for the younger millennial and one for the older millennial. So Logan is one, and there's another gentleman, I think his last name is Cochran, that chimed in right
Dominion
quick.
Custom Homes travel mug.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Perfect.
Why don't we close with what's going to be my favorite aspect of the program? Get that picture on the screen.
Oh,
This
where
is
is
this
it?
picture. There's a little bit of a delay, so we'll see it shortly. You know the picture. You forwarded it over there.
Yonna doesn't know because it came to me.
Oh, she doesn't know it. Judy, you're putting it on screen? All right, there's about an 8-second delay. You're going to see this photo on screen. I think it's going to melt your heart. What's it like having a grandson in
Phenomenal.
the house? Yeah.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So much fun. And he's so wide open.
Yeah?
So wide open, yeah.
How old is he?
10 months.
Okay.
10
I
months.
love it. Turning into a little person.
More than just that.
Yeah.
I mean, personality, character, wants to walk so badly. So,
There it is.
oh, look at him. Look at him. Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Watching the show.
Yes.
With
Hi,
the
guys.
bottle in the kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like a double oven over there.
Oh, yeah. And he loves to he's starting to throw stuff, including food. So it's like really fun to watch him eat.
I love it.
So one of my dumb jokes is look at that.
Yeah, he's cute.
is,
Cute as a button.
my wife has another man in her life. Just happens to be 10 months
Yeah.
old, but
He's
has another man in her life.
Ben
He's
Myrtle,
a blessing.
the builder, welcome to the show. Our colleague, or your colleague, Michael Guthrie, watching.
There you go.
Real Talk, powered by the Yes Team Realtors.
This was like falling off of a log. Thank
Friday.
you.
Thank you.
It was fun. Fridays at 10:15
Thank
on
you.
the I Love CVille network. We will take today's show and we'll syndicate it for 30 days across 17 Facebook pages, 17 Twitter accounts, the third largest Instagram in the community, and an e-newsletter that goes out every morning to 108,000 inboxes.
Thank you.
I love you guys.
Thank
It's
you.
fun.
Likewise.
It's easy.
Likewise. You
It's
make
easy.
it. You make
It's
it so
easy.
much
Like falling
fun.
off
Thank
a
you.
log, man.
Enjoy your morning and have a good weekend and support local in Central
Please.
Virginia. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Always, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nicely done. Thank you, Judah. Thank you for getting
Thank
that
you,
photo
Judah.
up.
Thank
That
you,
photo.
Judah.
Which,
Nice.
so was this the one they sent initially? They sent it.
This is the one they texted me.
They
texted
and he
you.
sent it to Judah during the show.
Oh, he did.
And then Judah got it up there. Thank you, Judah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Judah, we're just pros.
That went well.
I wanted to put you on the